Hi, this is Phil and Stephen from SkiTalk.com. That's the sound of BOA, a sound that you're going to be hearing in base lodges all across the country this year and quite frankly in the years coming up. BOA Technology has worked with Fischer as far as design and development of new closure systems for the clog of the boot, which is the lower half of the boot, which gives the foot much better containment of the boot. What we have here is the 2024-25 Fischer RC4 Pro MV BOA boot with the standard zip fit liner. Now I want to have a little shout out to California Ski Company in Berkeley, California, and Racer's Edge in Breckenridge, Colorado, who were very helpful in getting us a couple of pair of boots. The boot is so hot, manufacturers where they normally earmark a couple of pair of boots for test boots for organizations and companies like SkiTalk.com, we couldn't get them, so they worked with some of these shops and they're able to secure some of the boots. Now I got Stephen here, who actually, Stephen, you spent a lot of time in the boot last year, so leading up to this year, and you came from also a previous Fischer boot, the RC4 Podium. Now 140 flex, 97 millimeter last, 100 millimeter last. What's your interpretations going from this boot to the new Pro MV?
I would say my first thing that I noticed the most is just in the mornings when this boot was warm. It was quite soft. It would take it a little bit. It was a few runs before I felt like I was getting everything out of it. This boot, basically coming out of my heated boot bag in the mornings, it skis pretty much like that the whole day. There's not a lot of change. Yeah. It's also great as far as taking it off. I've had many times that I was using a hairdryer to get out of that one after skiing, but this one's much easier to get in and out of.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the design of the shells. This was a vacuum shell from Fischer, but we also, on this new one here, we have the TPU shell, which is a thermo-shaped polyurethane shell. It's not a vacuum like these previous ones were, and we also have a carbon-infused TPU cuff. So I think that's what we're seeing, those differences. But as far as on-snow feel between the two boots?
I feel like I have... I don't know, control, I feel like both boots were great as far as control. This one I find to be warmer over the course of the day. As far as what effort I had to put into that boot to get it to fit and feel comfortable for a day was immense in comparison to this.
Yeah. Remember when we got you in this boot, we had to do a lot of work to it. I mean, your profession is, you're a ballroom dancer, so your feet are abused in day-to-day life. So this boot here, I mean, if you look at it close here, is kind of like a mogul field. I mean, all the bumps and everything that we had to do in this boot to accommodate his bony foot. I mean, first and fifth mets, we had the navicular, styloid, so we had to do a lot of work in this boot, where this one here, I think we just did one small punch to it.
I think so. Yeah, and actually, I think the mark's still there. So
all we did was that styloid punching out, which actually made him go into the boot really nice and easy. Now, what's really interesting is, and again, even in my case, you're coming from a low volume boot to a medium volume, so a 97 to 100. I normally also ski in a low volume shell myself. This is a medium volume. I've got a very thin leg. I've got not much as far as a foot. And what I found that this boot, even here, is such an accommodating foot, especially in the back half, which just holds that foot where that's where our energy is generated from. But what that medium volume combined with that of the BOA closure allowed my forefoot just to sit in really nice and flat in there without squeezing the boot, without any loss of performance or comfort in that.
I would agree. I think this heel pocket on this boot was better out the gate than this was. And then, of course, the BOA is like, it's nice just depending on how your foot feels. I know I come out here and I tend to drink a lot more and like I'm,
retaining.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant. Water. Water.
Of course.
So being able to tighten that down however I need each day is nice, and it fits the way it closes over my foot. Originally, I feel like I was worried about that it might bother the top of my foot if it was all being pulled over. but it's not to sound silly, but it feels like it wraps around it more like a glove than it does push down on the top of my foot.
Well, that's the whole idea behind BOA, that it does create a much more of an engulfing of that forefoot area, where our traditional buckles will tend to just pull that top down. This wraps the boot in a lot snugger. Now, one of the questions that we had when we first started seeing boots was people concerned about durability and longevity. They might have had BOA or some sort of cable closures on some previous, whether it be fishing, bike, golf, whatever. But we found with this here, the cable they use is much thicker, and it also, as far as the closure design, where we can close the boot this way, but we also have the ability of bringing it back, where originally the BOA, if you wanted to release some tension off of it, you had to release the whole thing, then go in and reclose it again. Not the case with this new 4-to-1 design. And as far as durability, we got this little insert here with Danny Huberman, who was our local Fischer rep, knocking the BOA off. And you can see how he can knock it off and the effort that it does take to knock it off, but also it just pops right back on. Worst case scenario, if you're out there and something does happen with it, any shop that is a BOA dealer, whether they're carrying Fischer or the other brands that carry BOA, they will all have replacement parts, and there is a lifetime warranty on these parts. So you go in, just a couple of Torx on here, and you can replace them probably within 10 to 15 minutes. So that's also really nice with this design. Now, size available on this particular model, you're looking at anywhere from a 22.5 up to a 30.5. So we've got a full range of options as far as sizing. Very few boots are available in a 140 Flex down to those small sizes, which is really nice. So we're excited about that. So with that zip fit liner also, to get a little more in depth there, that's one of the things that separates not only the RC4 Pro from the rest of the Fischer line, but also the other BOA boots that are out there. Zip fit, from those that are familiar with, makes one of the best aftermarket liners, and they did a super job with this one here as far as moldability on it. Any shop that has a oven to heat the liners anywhere from about 8 to 10 minutes, heats up the back of that liner here, pop it into the shell, and chances are you're ready to go. If we need to do additional work on the cuff, that is an option for you. I do like the softer forebody here, which helps accommodate that forefoot. It's very comfortable. We don't have to stretch the liner in that area. It does everything naturally, and you can see also it does have a really good lace closure system. So they did a beautiful job there. For some of the more aggressive skiers that they were concerned about possibly booting out, I mean that high edge angle compared to just a regular shell, by no means are you going to get anywhere near that BOA to hit that, to knock that ski off the snow. So that is not a concern either. So I think Fischer has really done a super job with this boot. And we talked about the flex a little bit, and that flex of that 140. We've both been in various 140 flexes. Me for maybe a little more aggressiveness, you for just your size on the snow. But what I found, what's your opinion on this, is that I really find that this is true to a 140 flex.
I would agree. I mean, I would say I feel like it's stiffer than my prior boot. And as far as the controlled stiffness I get out of it, yeah, it's the biggest thing I noticed again from earlier is that when it's warmer, I'm not losing any kind of control with that boot. If I'm spring skiing or whatever, like, and the boot is not getting cold, I'm not needing the boot to be that cold to be stiff.
Well, the other thing I like with it too is in the Zeppa design here, and again, being a boot fitter, we've got a really flat Zeppa here. We have to do very little work on this. It's dimpled through here, so if we do need to grind down a little bit, we can see how much that we're doing on this Zeppa. So I think that's really good. It's a full plate Zeppa underneath, so it does sit flush into the bottom of the shell. Again, another area where I think Fischer has stepped up to it. We do have grip walk standard as far as the boot. They do have din soles, the the ISO 5355 soles if you do need to work with a race ski that's limited, so you can swap them out fairly easy. Cantology does offer canting strips, so if your shop does need to cant the boot, we can definitely do that for you also. Fischer did a beautiful job there. So we've got a great fitting boot. It's a good option. One last thing, you do notice that we do have Atronics boot caps on here, which again helps keep those toes a little bit warmer. We're not saying this boot and these liners not warm to start off with, but anytime we can add a little bit of warmth, whether it be from Hotronics, our heaters in the boots, or even going with these guys here in the heated socks, whatever you want to do to keep those tootsies warm, we can keep them warm for you in this boot, and I think it works really well. Nice little design here as far as with the power strap on it. If you do decide to keep the standard power strap, it is adjustable laterally on here, so you can optimize that position for yourself around the cuff. If somebody has a narrower leg shaft like myself, or they might have a little more of an athletic calf, there is adjustments for that. But overall, Fischer did a super job with this new RC4 with the BOA closure on it. It's a boot that we've been happy with. It's in my boot rotation. We're going to have additional long-term reviews on the site, so check it out over SkiTalk.com. And remember, folks, skiing is fun.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Deb Armstrong here. And remember, skiing is fun.
If you enjoyed this informative video, hit that bell, subscribe so that you'll stay up to date on the new videos, and check out SkiTalk.com for more ski-related content.
Also, please follow SkiTalk.com on all of your social media channels. No scenes from Hot Dog the movie were quoted during the production of this video.